Morning everyone, it is Saturday today and that means the start of the weekend, and it means the start of trying to get a whole hell of a lot of things done here at home. So I've got the sourdough on the go already, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop out because there's some seed potatoes being given away on Freecycle that have kindly been earmarked for me. So I'm going to go and pick up some new seed potatoes. And then we're going to come back this weekend. We're going to plant those potatoes. We're going to build the tree guards in the top paddock, because our plan is tomorrow to move the goats back into the big paddock to give them all that extra space and all that lovely lush grass that's up there. And we're going to be moving our chickens, more sowing, just a massive list of bits and bobs to get done. Yeah, I mean, it's spring. I might even get a chance to cut some of the grass. Who knows? I also want to cut some hedge, because this time of year is fantastic when the hedges start growing. It's fantastic for the goats. We can trim those hedges back and give those trimmings to the goats. We need to clear up that top paddock, have a little bonfire. I'm going to be starting some pea shoots. They're actually bean shoots. These are chickpeas, and I think that's a type of bean. And we've soaked these for a couple of days. We're going to grow some of these, well, a couple of different ways actually, and I'll go through all that with you later. But yeah, these are ready to get sown. But for now, like I say, I need to pop out and go pick up these potatoes. So I've just got back, and here we go. My free seed potatoes from Freecycle. The variety is called Vivaldi, and they're a second early. So we're going to get them in the ground today. Vivaldi is a variety that actually crops over a longer period than some. So they're a good potato for covering that small gap you might have between your second earlies and your main crops. I know. That's the bottle fed one. So we're going to put these straight in the ground, and then the next job we're going to do is clear up this top paddock. Remember me saying earlier, you can see the goats have eaten off pretty much everything down in here. If you have a quick look at the grass here, they've got free choice hay and stuff, and we're going to give them some hedge trimmings later, but compare that to this top paddock, which has had a rest now for nearly 6 weeks. So we're going to get our tree guards around those trees and then do a bit of a clear up. I still haven't got round to shifting all these branches left over, so we're going to get them on the bonfire, burn that today, and then we'll be ready to move them tomorrow. But I'm going to plant these spuds now. Just before I do, I'm just going to go off and make up a few more pieces of slate. You might notice that I've run out of slate markers, and I've run out of the pieces of slate cut. I've got the slate, I've got the cutter, and I've got the Tipex pen. So the only thing I haven't done is actually cut the slate into strips, which doesn't take long. So I'll quickly do that first. One thing I've really taken away from this season is being prepared, having all the peripheral stuff around the main job, having that taken care of before you go out to do it has just, it's made such a difference. So rather than, just jumping in, planting the potatoes, then going and cutting the 2 or 3 bits of slate that I need to mark it, I'm going to go and cut a load of slate so that that's all ready for the next 2 months worth of planting. And having the compost where you want it, just getting all the peripheral stuff done has made a hell of a lot of difference to my productivity, for sure. I forgot to press record, but I've just cut them all. Never mind, you get the idea. You've seen it before. What a lovely day! It really is nice. It's you'll notice no coat today. Still wearing the hat due to the lack of haircut. Now, I'm not sure if Freecycle is worldwide or if it's just in the UK, but wherever you are, I'm sure there'll be a version of it. And maybe it is Freecycle, and maybe that's available the globe over. But whatever it is, just sign up, have a look, see what's about, because there are things that people are just glad to be rid of. You can make use of it. There's so much. When I look around, there's nowhere I can look without seeing something that came from Freecycle. So many of our fence posts came from Freecycle. The roof of that shed there came from Freecycle. Half the timber on my grape trellis came from Freecycle. The slabs on my vegetable bed came from Freecycle. The potatoes, obviously, that I'm about to plant came from Freecycle, and hopefully I'm going to be picking up some onion sets later as well today, which again on Freecycle. Our arbour, you can just see the roof of it over there, that seat, little roofed seat, that came from Freecycle. So it's amazing what you can get. You can see our strawberry patch is all weeded now. I'm just opening up the polytunnels because it's quite warm at the moment, and such a funny time of year, isn't it? It's like our last frost date officially is in 2 weeks still, and it doesn't look like we're going to get any frost between now and then, which is great. But it's like, you know, the sun's out and you're just desperate to just plant and sow and transplant. You put things out, they're going to die because they get too cold. Leave them in the polytunnel with the door shut all day, they're going to die because they get too hot. You know, it's such a funny time of year. So I've just quickly watered everything in here and made up my 2 slate markers for my new potatoes. My beans that I only sowed maybe 10 days ago are just going for it. They're really germinating fast in there. It's fantastic. So I'm starting to get to the point now where I need to be conscientious of the space, and I need to be thinking about planting, because I'm putting in more and more long season crops. Now, potatoes aren't a long season crop, but they're not a short season crop either. They're not a quick crop. So I've got all of this, everything as you look to the right of this path, I've got given to first and second early potatoes. So they're going to be in there for a good 2 or 3 months. They're going to make way for lots of succession planted faster crops. So maybe salads, followed by then our winter brassicas. I think everything's subject to change. I'll change my mind 16 times by the time we actually get that far in the season. But this section here at the front of what will eventually be a perennial bed, again, we've got first and second early potatoes. So we're going to put a row of second early potatoes. Okay, I think we're going to squeeze a row in here between this path and that kale, because that kale I think is coming out at some time this year. That kale is coming out, and with our winter brassicas over there, we're going to plant a row right along the edge of that border. You know, I keep saying about using things like kale, and sorry, I keep saying kale, chard. Using things like chard as a weed break at the edge of your bed. Well, that's what I'm going to do up there. So I think we'll come through here, and then later in the season we'll harvest all the chard, take these plants out, we'll have them replaced by a set of plants up that side, and then that'll leave all of this side to the left of my Egyptian walking onions there to be replanted later in the season. We've still got to leave lots of room for all of our other stuff. You know, I've got some bush beans that I want to get in here. We've got you know, obviously the back's all taken care of. It's all sort of earmarked for our climbers, our beans, our peas, some of our squash, but we've got a lot else. We've got more salad to come out. We've got those onion sets that I spoke about, if I'm lucky enough to pick them up later. We've got our succession planted brassicas, broccoli and cauliflower and stuff that are germinating now. We've obviously got our first set of brassicas at the top there, and a couple of other rows dotted around the place. We've got some calabrese there, some cauliflower, and we've got cabbages again dotted around with more to go in. So it's getting to the point now. I mean, obviously you could see my bed's not exactly rammed yet, but it's getting to the point where more and more of it is earmarked, and it's not going to be too long before it is pretty full. We'll squeeze a row of potatoes up through there, then we'll find a home for the rest. I love this no dig method. I can't go on enough about how much I love it. I just take the top bit of compost away, and it's just moist and amazing down there and beautiful, and such a lovely home for my plants. It's fantastic. Putting these in next to that chard is actually going to work really well, because it will give me the impetus to dig it out. I hate to dig out healthy plants, and they still will be, but it'll give me the impetus to do exactly that. When the potatoes are ready, we can take them all out at the same time. I say dig them out, there'll be no digging, just pulling them out. One thing I definitely need to be mindful of, insofar as space that I actually need to leave, is I need to leave enough space for my main crop potatoes. They're going to have to go in very soon as well. If I don't get them in this weekend, then, you know, definitely in the next week. I'm going to want them in the ground. If you've been following me for a little while, you'll already know that this is the first year I've ever bought in compost. But just because this is the first year I've topped my beds up with compost, it doesn't mean that we haven't got really rich soil underneath, because what I've done in the past is I've added wood chip and whatever else I can produce on site, the compost I can produce on site, and you know, organic matter such as wood chip and rotted down manure. We've never been able to put compost on to this thickness, but even so, underneath, look, we're on really heavy clay, but even last year's soil and the year before is still really good stuff. And because we've never disturbed it, we're only ever going to be adding to the quality of that soil. We're never going to be, you know, diminishing the quality of the soil by digging it up and turning it over and breaking up all of those important cycles that are happening down there all the time for our benefit. As well as the Vivaldi, I was also given these 4 unidentified seed potatoes. So we're just gonna pop these in buckets. Got a little bit of help for planting these potatoes. Babysitting my nieces in the garden. So, oh no, leave that one open, buddy. Okay. Because it's a bit warm. Yep. So, I'll tell you what we'll do. Hold it there. Right, Khaleesi, do you want to come and help me plant these? Yeah. Shall I do this one and you do that one? So you want to dig a hole like that, look, about that big. Nice and big. So if you pass me a potato, and then you take a potato, and you, this is the bit that grows, look. Oh no, don't pull that off, darling. These are the bits that grow, okay? So these are the bits that we're going to let grow. So pop it in like that, with that bit upwards, and then cover it right up so you can't see it anymore. Next thing, we need to water them. A little bit in each of those buckets. That's it, next one. So you can tell your mummy and daddy you've planted potatoes today. Yeah. So I've also just drilled some extra holes in those buckets. Next job for me is going to be to go and build those tree guards. You'll see my wife there in the distance. She's putting electric fencing all around the other part of that paddock, because obviously we need to keep Sid separate from the girls now, and I have to say he's actually mellowed right out. He seems to have settled into his bachelor pad, and he honestly seems quite happy there. It's a shame we haven't been able to find a temporary home for him where he can go and do what he loves doing, but we're still looking. The only website I know of in the UK where you can advertise animals without paying, you know, for free, is Pre-Loved. Unfortunately, you can only advertise, you know, not if you're a business, if you're a breeder or whatever, but if you're like we are and you're not doing it to make money, you're not a commercial enterprise, and you know we tick all those boxes, then you can use Pre-Loved. Unfortunately, on Pre-Loved you can't actually hire out animals. You can't list them as for hire. When you try, it says, well, no, you need a business membership. Well, the fees for a business membership are basically almost exactly the same as the fees I'd get for Sid if I was successful. So it just, you know, I can't justify it. But we are trying. We are trying. Right. These sad trees, they're going to have a much nicer life from now on, because they're going to be much better protected, because that's the next job we're doing. That's a job that has been kind of at the back of my mind, on my to-do list for 2 years. And it's finally done, and I'm so happy. Now, I am absolutely parched. So I'm gonna go in the house and get some kombucha out the fridge, which is just going to be, gonna be delicious in this weather. But those are 3 tree guards all done. And as always, with me, it's substance over style. So, you know, we've got 3 posts in the ground to hold everything out away from the tree. We've got some wire to stop the goats getting to the tree. and we've got some timber here just to brace the tops, and the wire and the timber across the tops was all just, you know, reclaimed, recycled, reused stuff. The only new thing here are the posts, and it's just those tiny 2-inch thick posts, so they're very, very cheap. This paddock now is almost ready for the goats to come back in here. That's the site of our bonfire, and obviously wherever you have a bonfire you scorch the ground. We don't want to have more than one bonfire site, so we're not moving it. That's where we're going to have the bonfire, so we're going to have that now. I'm going to go in, get a drink, come out, light the fire, and then clear up all the stuff that I've been using and the rest of the paddock, so that we're ready for moving the goats. What a glorious day. So I've just gone in and got a drink and feel a little bit better. I was extremely thirsty after doing that, and next job just to clear that paddock now. A few things we're going to do. We're going to pick up from where their house was. There's still a bit of bedding and manure and stuff that I want to pick up, and that'll go on the compost, obviously. Branches left over where we've fed them things that we've cut off of trees and stuff, and the bits that are too big for them to eat, so we'll pick them up as well. We'll also collect up all the tools and everything from what I was just using, and we'll do most of that using the trailer from our ride-on mower. When I was listing all the things earlier that we got from Freecycle, most of the gates on the property, that one behind us and this one here, all came from Freecycle. A few things to share with you about bonfires. Now I think it's been a good year since our last fire, and I suggest we probably have about one a year, about this size. If we were doing everything that we possibly could to reuse everything, then we would have a chipper here that we would put all those through to create wood chip, all of those intermediate size branches. We do what we can without a wood chipper, so anything small enough the goats eat or gets composted, anything big enough we burn in our fire or we set aside and use. We have, you've seen us cooking on our little fire pit outside sometimes, so anything in between we'd use there, with the exception of whatever builds up here throughout the year. Now if we had a wood chipper, the most economic use of that is to chip it and use the wood chip as mulch or put that in your compost pile. I've got one from Freecycle, a little electric one. It just wasn't man enough to deal with this kind of stuff. So, one day we'll have one and we will chip everything and we won't need to burn anything. But in the meantime, it's a fairly small amount, I think. When you think we're managing 8 acres here and a whole household, I think one small bonfire like this a year is not awful, but like I say, we could do better. 2 other things. One, in terms of my time, I have to be very careful now that I don't waste the next 4 hours just tinkering with it, because, and I think it's a predominantly male thing, not to say exclusively, but predominantly, I think men really struggle to leave a fire alone. Now, it's really easy to just walk around the outside constantly picking up bits of wood from the outside and throwing them in, like the fire needs that kind of management. I am man, I will manage fire. Whereas it really doesn't. Probably, in an hour or 2 I should come back and just go around the outside and throw everything that's not in the centre, and that'll probably do it. Historically, I've been known to micromanage that a little bit and waste quite a lot of time doing so. The last thing to say is the ash that the fire produces we will use. That will go into our compost, or on this occasion we might actually save it in a bucket and create some lye for soap making. So we're going to use what we can. We certainly try and keep everything within our systems, but yeah, there you go. That's our little bonfire, about once a year. So that's going to pretty much wrap me up for today on this video. I'm going to collect up the rest of the stuff that's left over there, and then I'm going to go in and cook my family dinner, cook our sourdough, which of course I've been working on and off throughout the day, and then go and pick up those onion sets. So I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow for lots more frugal farming. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you press that like button, leave me a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're not already. It costs you nothing, it's absolutely free, and we'd love to have you. So until next time, stay safe, see you soon. Cheers.